Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into a new beer from the Brewing Projekt. Have had a ton of great luck on all the beers I've tried by them. They're based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, so I think we've got back-to-back Wisconsin beer review brews here. This specific one is called Irish Cow Cow. It is a milk stout that clocks in at 5.4% ABV, and it's been brewed with lactose, coffee, and Irish cream. So, label art. Kind of a deviation from the Brewing Projekt. They normally have a nice clean design and they give you a lot of kind of senses on the label what you're getting into. This one's very much a cartoony. I like it, nice bright orange. Got a cow and a cowboy outfit, and it looks like there's some cacti in the background. So it looks cool. I like the label art. And this one, as I'm getting it gently cracked here, I'm expecting to be very much kind of like a beer form of an Irish cream or like a Bailey's liqueur. I don't drink a ton of milk stouts. I prefer standard stouts when I'm going stouts, but I like to try new beers, and the Brewing Projekt has brewed a ton of great beers. I primarily know them from their sours, but this is going to be interesting. So let's get this poured right in the glass. Got our trusty stout glass here. Okay, very dark, but it's not super thick. 5.4% ABV. That's pretty low for a stout, milk or otherwise. Giving this a chance to form its head. I'm going to back off so that can finish forming. Yeah, that did a beautiful job. Visually, while it may only be 5.4% ABV, this is absolutely pitch black. So they used very deeply roasted malts in this one to draw out that color. It's got a very pronounced aroma. I didn't get it at first while I was pouring it, but now that the head is formed, the carbonation is starting to rush up, the aroma is really jumping out of this glass. It does smell quite sweet and very chocolatey. I can smell that from 1.5 feet away. That head formed absolutely beautifully. In terms of what's happening carbonation-wise, it's quite dark. It's hard to see, but I do see some small little very fine bubbles running up the side, which is probably why it made this nice creamy head. The tighter the packed bubble and the more quickly that it disperses on the initial crack and pour, typically the tighter and the finer and creamier the head it's going to form. That is proving true here. So let's get right up over it for a nice proper sniff. Oh, wow, yeah. Oh, man. Wow, okay. So, aroma-wise, everything that went into making this beer is 100% evident. So you can 100% smell the coffee in this. That is very evident. And you can very much smell the Irish cream. You can also smell that lactose addition because it does smell sweet. It doesn't smell as astringently roasty or almost like taking on a bitter type aroma at all. So it definitely smells sweetened, and the coffee and the Irish cream jump right out at you. Now, from 1.5 feet away, it did smell when it first started to open up a bit like chocolate milk. Once I got right up onto it and it settled, it doesn't smell like chocolate at all. It very much smells like coffee and Irish cream with a nice little underpinning of that malt bill and that sweetness from that lactose. You can smell it. It smells absolutely delicious. It looks fantastic. Head is holding this nice creamy pad. Let's just jump right in, see what this one's about. Oh yeah, that's quite nice. That tastes rather as I expected it to, and absolutely as I was hoping that it would. So, this is nailed. Exactly what they set out to do in this one. And this is another one of those beers, especially in the milk stout category, where I'm going to talk about this first. Yes, there is lactose in this. It is a milk stout. It's got that milk sugar. It's got the lactose. But they did not go overboard. They didn't just dump lactose in there to really sweeten it up. It's in there enough that, yes, it's got this slight sweetness to it, but it's really more in there to open up the actual true flavors of the other added ingredients, in this case, namely that Irish cream. So say you're at home, making coffee, you have some Irish cream flavored creamer, or you have some, some Irish cream hooch, and you're going to throw it in there. That is what this beer is 100% setting in my mind. And in terms of the coffee, coffee is also very, very prevalent, make no mistake. And it tastes a little bit like a medium roast coffee with just a little bit of sugar, just a little bit. And so that lactose is bringing up both the flavor of the Irish cream, and it also is making it taste like coffee with a little bit of sugar as well as this Irish cream. So it tastes absolutely fantastic. The malt bill does come through as well. It is very much binding in tandem with that coffee. And this happens most of the time in a darker roasted malt based beer that also has coffee in it. Coffee is naturally richer, deeper. It's got this earthy sense to it. It's got these roasty elements that really pairs well in a darker beer because of the similarities between the profiles of coffee and roasted malts. So it really is binding very well. The malt bill on this one does kind of ride underneath that coffee. The coffee is a bit more prevalent, but when the coffee kind of dials back in the intensity of its coffee flavor, being that it's kind of a medium roast, it's not got a ton of richness to it, that's where this malt bill kind of comes back in and elevates it to kind of pair well with that Irish cream that's floating in the top. So it does have this nice underpinning, a very nice roast to it. This is not, like I said, it's not like a big intense Italian or French roast coffee. It's not got any suggestion of smoke or on the edge of being burned or smoke point at all. It's just a nice kind of medium house blend type coffee with a little bit of sugar and Irish cream for the creamer, and that speaks perfectly in this beer. That said, yes, it does taste like a coffee with Irish cream and sugar, but it is very distinctly a beer. So it's got this overriding flavor to it, but you can tell it's in a base stout and it does taste appropriate. Overall, I'm very pleased with this. It tastes exactly as I was hoping that it would, and they've nailed it. They've nailed it. This tastes like an Irish cream coffee milk stout, exactly as advertised. So we're going to jump back in for body and mouthfeel. I'm going to let these flavors re-intensify again on second sip, and we're going to pick apart this finish, but very impressive, very tasty beer. The body on this beer is a solid medium. At 5.4, I thought it might be medium light, but it's actually got some heft to it. It's a milk stout. It's got some additives in there, and yeah, okay, that maybe plays its part, but yeah, it's got nice presence for the ABV range to be certain. The mouthfeel on this one, it's a little bit more resistant than your average stout in this range before you really start to agitate on the palate. As soon as you do, it feels very creamy, very silky. It's just absolutely lush, and it feels significantly thicker when you agitate on the palate. So the mouthfeel is tremendous. They nailed that as well. On second sip, this flavor intensification, it really does just exactly that. It just re-intensifies. The Irish cream immediately jumps out at you. That lactose helps it taste exactly like Irish cream, so that slight sweetness to it. The coffee jumps right out at you. The malt bill jumps right out at you. Everything in this beer is in balance, and I absolutely love it for that. It's so easy to go off the rails on a milk stout because that lactose volume is really key to getting it right, to letting the additive ingredients speak if you're doing additives, and to also let the beer still taste like a beer, especially in these stouts with these roasty malt bills. You don't want it to be so sweet that you can't get that roasty underpinning, and it's there. This beer really has heft, and it's absolutely delicious. In terms of texturally how the finish is, it's not dry at all. It's a nice wet finish all the way to the end. In terms of the actual length of the finish, so this one may be a milk stout, but it is significantly longer than your average milk stout. And really it comes down to this choice of ingredients. It's that coffee. While it may feel like a medium roast, the intensity of it really comes through, binds to that malt bill, and it really does extend the length of the finish on this one significantly longer than your average. You have just this haunting coffee and a little bit of that roasty edge from the malt bill on the very back end. There's actually even still just a little bit of that Irish cream flavor floating on the top of that. And it's truly, truly delicious. This beer is exactly as described, exactly what I was hoping it would be, and it's unbelievably good. I'm going to take my time, sip on this beer, come up with my scores. When we come back, we'll get this one ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. This was the Brewing Projekt's Irish Cow Cow, a milk stout clocking in at 5.4% ABV that was brewed with lactose, coffee, and Irish cream. The Brewing Projekt is based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So, for the aroma on this one, it was extremely pronounced, which for a low ABV milk stout of all styles was kind of surprising, but the ingredients that they put in there are naturally going to give off a lot greater aroma. So you could really smell that underlying malt bill. You smell a little bit of that sweetness. The coffee came through very clearly. Irish cream as well. Smelled absolutely amazing. The aroma does get a perfect 10 out of 10. For the taste. The taste on this beer was one of those that, again, I was just pleasantly surprised. I had a suspicion and I had hopes for how I thought that it would play out, but it was even better. So basically, Irish cream in your coffee flavored milk stout. They didn't overdo it with the lactose. There was enough lactose in there to let the Irish cream come through and actually taste like Irish cream, but without it being a very, very sweet beer. It was not. The coffee came through very, very clearly. It's a nice, strong coffee presence. The malt bill was very present. The Irish cream, it was all in there, and it tasted absolutely fantastic. Taste gets a 10 out of 10. For the body on this beer was pretty much exactly what I expected for the style. A little bit heavier than your average standard stout. Lactose tends to make them a little bit on the thicker and heavier side of things. That was the case here, exactly as expected. The body does get a perfect 10 out of 10. For the mouthfeel. Mouthfeel on this was exceptional. Had a very nice silky creamy mouthfeel to it. Had the right amount of resistance for the ABV range. Again, just like with the body, exactly as expected, the mouthfeel does get a perfect 10 out of 10. For the finish, way longer than your average milk stout. Though, to be fair, this is flavored versus non-flavored. And coffee being one of those flavors, it already has an inherent advantage in pushing out the length of the end of the finish, just because of how intense and how lingering coffee is as a flavor on the palate. That was exactly the case here, and it really did finish strongly with that coffee lingering on the back of the palate and notes of Irish cream. Absolutely fantastic. Finish gets a 9 out of 10. Head and retention, this one did a really, really great job. Formed a nice creamy head, stuck around almost the entire time. Head and retention gets a 9 out of 10. For the appearance, this was a very, very dark beer, exactly as expected. Not quite pitch black, but very close. Appearance gets a 10 out of 10. For the balance on this beer was really, aside from the taste itself, what you experience, it comes down to the balance. They balanced perfectly the volume of malts, the amount of coffee, the volume of Irish cream, and almost most importantly, the amount of lactose. It's so easy to go too sweet on a milk stout, and they absolutely nailed it to where the flavors came through, tasted as they were intending to, but without it being a pungently sweet beer. That's exactly how to do a flavored milk stout. Bravo. Balance gets a 10 out of 10. Feeling in the intangible, subjectively, I loved it. This was a really great milk stout, 10 out of 10. Finally, as an example of the style, well, this beer swept it in all but 2 categories and it only lost 1 point there. So yeah, in the grand scheme of things, this is top tier milk stout and flavored at that. Example of the style does get a 10 out of 10, which brings the total score on the Brewing Projekt's Irish Cow Cow to a 98 out of 100. So yeah, absolutely top tier beer. If you're a fan of coffee stouts, milk stouts, a hybrid of both, coffee plus milk, this is one I would absolutely seek. The Irish cream was an added bonus, but absolutely delicious beer. They built exactly what I suspect they set out to do, an Irish cream coffee flavored milk stout, and just nailed it. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, hit that bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.